Hello, 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 everyone. It's Jeff Walker, and I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to do this call, and let's go ahead and get right into it. We've got lots of people on the call, and I think it's going to be a great call. So it is good to be us. It's good to be, it's good to be alive right now. It's good to be able to build an online business. It's good to be able to build a business for most of us from our home. For most of us with very little capital invested, and usually you start off with very small team or no team, very few costs, and you have this capability to build a great business, a great income, a great lifestyle, and have this huge impact. So it is good to be us. Right now we're into Module 2. We just released Module 2 yesterday. And we did have a few problems with the server yesterday, so my apologies if you had some troubles getting in. It was one of those weird situations where some people could get in and some couldn't. And it was actually one of our providers was having problems. But I think we're pretty solid now. Got it fixed during the day, and I think we're solid. So anyways, we're into Module 2, and let's celebrate the fact that you're still here, that you're still with me. Because it's easy to drop out when you're in any type of a learning, any type of a program like this. It's easy to get enthused with the beginning and to not follow through. But the fact is, you're here on our second call. And I'm sure some of you haven't even started in on Module 2 yet, and that's fine because you're still with me. That's fantastic. So congratulations, and thank you for sticking with me. The funny thing is. I just want to congratulate you, but I want to make a challenge. I want to issue a challenge to you, and that is to stick with me through this entire program. But I'm about baby steps, so let's just say stick with me through this call, and my challenge is to get through Module 2, or at least put a big dent in it and show up on call number 3 with me. That's my challenge. Because the thing that I've noticed is the people that keep on showing up are the people that have huge success. We just, you might or might not know, I have this Platinum program, which is for my highest level students. And it's a program we don't even open up at all, frankly, except for at our live events. It's the only place where you can even be eligible to get in. But in that program, we have people that have been with me in Platinum for 5 years now. We just had one of them, Ruth, who's been with me for 5 years, and she's built this tremendous business, but she just posted that, she just had this huge launch, the biggest launch ever. In fact, it was $1 million launch. And she doesn't teach about internet marketing. She's in a completely different market. But it was just fantastic that she had, and the market success in this type of business is not whether you had $1 million launch. The market of success is whether you've got a business. Whether you did your launch. And frankly, you could take PLF and not even do a launch, but incorporate all the principles in, and you're still a winner. You're still way ahead of the game. But the thing is as I look for everyone who's been in Plat for since I started it 5 years ago, almost every one of those, I think there might be one exception, has $1 million business, doing $1 million or more in sales a year. And, I know when I talk about big numbers like that, some people get freaked out, they get scared, they get worried, or they judge themselves. They're like, I didn't make $1 million. My launch only did 12,000. And so in some ways, I hold back from talking about those great big launches like that. Because it scares people, or people's brains shut down. I remember not too long ago, if you would have said the idea of $1 million anything to me, it was like no possible way. But I'm just making the point that, like I said, those people that joined Plat 5 years ago, they stayed plugged in. And they've been plugged into me through Plat for 5. Well, they were plugged in first through PLF. And they were plugged in through Module 1 and Module 2 and Module 3 and Module 4. And I think we only had 5 modules back in those days. Now we've got 6, plus we slip in a bonus 7th module for you. But I think back in those days we only had 5 modules, and back in the olden days. And then they came out to PLF Live, and then they at some point they decided to step up in the Plat, and they stayed with stayed with me, stayed with the process, stayed with the community, stayed with each other. And here, 5 years, 5 years is a long time, but 5 years to $1 million business is not a bad thing. You know, most of those people were starting out, you know, and now they've got these huge businesses, and it's a really cool thing. So the thing is, I don't want you to think about staying plugged in for 5 years right now. I'm just asking you to stay plugged into the process, and right now, stay plugged in through module 3 at least. And the call next week with me, a week from today, definitely want you to stick, because the thing is, the people that stay plugged in have success. So that's my challenge, is stay plugged in this week and show up on the call next week. You know, the thing, I do want you to be gentle with yourself, because many of us, especially those of us who are going through this program and are on this call, I mean, we tend to be achievers. And as achievers, a lot of times we're our own harshest critics, and we could be really, really hard on ourselves. So I want you to be gentle with yourself, but I also want you to expect really big, great things for yourself, because the fact that you are here, you set yourself apart, and you should be doing great things. You deserve to be doing great things. You deserve to be building a business, a great business, and having, you know, a great income and building that great, fantastic lifestyle. So you just haven't built a business that's just another prison for you, but you've built a great business that gives you freedom. And you're out there serving the world, and you're helping people, and maybe you eventually start growing your team and creating jobs and helping people, you know, with their pain, whatever, whether it's psychic or physical or whatever, or you're giving them a whole lot more pleasure in their life through your works of art, or through your ability to make them better golfers or better guitar players or have better relationships. So, you know, it's real easy to step into something as big as PLF and what it's going to do for you, and feel that fear, feel like just intimidated. But, you know, the thing, this is one of my challenges. It's about showing up as your biggest self, because you do have great things in your future. So it's a bit of a dichotomy, a bit of a yin and a yang, that you have to forgive yourself. You have to be gentle with yourself, but you also have to expect great things. I have this one friend, I actually consider her a teacher. She's a health practitioner as well. And she says, you know, nothing matters, and every second is vitally important. So, you know, nothing matters in that, you know, a lot of times we fret about every little thing in our life, and we get worried about all these little details. But it's like, in those times, it's this too shall pass. Nothing matters. But every second is important. Every minute is important. And you want you just want to show up as your biggest, best self. And none of us do that all the time, but to the extent that you do it a little bit more than you did yesterday and the day before is the extent that you move forward and you win in your life, and you build a great big life and a legacy and a lifestyle and an income and an impact. So remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get started. You just have to take those baby steps and get started. So this is the question, is how are you going to show up today? How are you going to show up as your biggest, best, bravest, most accomplished, most accomplishing self? Or are you going to show up and say, you know what, this scares me. This worries me. It'll never work. It won't work for me. It works for other people, but it won't work for me. How are you going to show up? How are you going to show up right now? So that's my challenge for you, is this week to really, really show up, to get through Module 2, and then show up with me next week on next week's call. Does it sound good? You with me? Okay, remember, this is my favorite quote of the week. General George S. Patton, one of the most decorated, one of the most successful generals in World War II, greatly responsible for, they had a huge part in the freeing of Europe. And he said, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. So if you're a perfectionist, I understand it. I'm one too. Get over it. Just You know, as Tony Robbins says, perfection is the lowest, what does he say? It's the lowest standard you can have. Because if you're expecting perfect and you never put something out because you want it to be perfect, then it's never going to get out there, and it's never going to make any change to you or to the people that are seeing it. So get something out there. You know, yeah, worry about making it good. Worry about even making it great. But just get it out there and don't let perfectionism stand in your way. So an important thing, I talked about this last week, we're going to open registration for PLF Live in January 2015. We don't have details for you yet. We don't have dates for you yet, but we will give you plenty of notice. And when you register in January of 2015, you're going to have plenty of notice as well. You need to get to PLF Live. This is the one thing I'm going to pitch you on really, really hard because I see the impact it makes with people. And that page looks a little funny there, that image. It's an image of our registration page. But I had to put something up there, and that's a couple years old now, of course, from 2013. But we'll open up registration. This is an incredible event. It's 3 days of me teaching on stage. Usually I have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 guest speakers, but it's almost all me speaking or training you. We will work through your launch and your launches and get them even better than they are going through PLF. So when we open up registration in January, I want you to get registered. We've had people from, last year we had people from well over 40 countries in attendance. So I don't care where you live. You know, people came from Australia, from Japan, from New Zealand, from Brazil, from all over Europe, from Africa. And so I don't care where you live. There's probably someone last year that came from further away than you did. It is worth it. Okay, I think that's we do have a few housekeeping ground rules. This call is all about Module 1 and Module 2. So this is a learning point, a teaching point here. Is last week we did the call, and you know, right away, right from the very get-go, we had a bunch of PLF owners, you know, that have been with me for years and been upgrading, and they sort of know the drill of get on the call early, raise your hand to ask a question early, and then you get called on. So they sort of, they know that secret, they know that drill. And so what they did was they got on, and so many of the questions I got, most of the questions were from pretty advanced questions about people that were deep into their launches or deep into their 10th launch or something like that. And so we had some really advanced questions, which are really cool, but you know, we didn't spend that much time on the material in Module 1. And I know some people probably felt intimidated. Some people that are just starting out with PLF probably felt intimidated by that. So I looked at that, and actually it came from a couple suggestions. We got a suggestion in the portal. And we also got a suggestion in the comments right on the call that said, hey, can we have more questions about this module? So I am morphing right here in front of your eyes. And so last week it was sort of a free-for-all. I'd take any question at all. This week we're taking questions about Module 1 and Module 2. And if we have any extra time towards the end, then we'll open it up. Otherwise, we'll just add some more calls where we'll cover, there'll be more free-for-all Q&A calls. So this calls for Module 1 and Module 2. I'll be answering questions about the material in those modules. If you have some super advanced questions about stuff outside of those modules, then now is not the time for them, and I'll politely decline to answer your question if you get through and ask one of those questions. So, but I do want to also highlight the point that right in front of your eyes, I am changing the way I'm running this. To basically serve you better, and we're adding in those open Q&A calls to serve everyone better. And so I'm just giving you an example of how you can do this in your products. You don't look at, boy, I launched the course 2 or 3 weeks ago. We closed the cart, whatever, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And here I am still changing it slightly. I'm making the offer better. I'm improving the offer, improving the product for you. And I'm just showing you that you can do this too. Again, it's to be perfect. You just make adjustments on the fly. So that's the adjustment I'm making. So I just want to share that, that's how I'm doing it. And you can do very much the same thing in your programs. So let me go, keep on going here. So I'm going to be taking live questions during this call. This call is not for tech support. If you need help with downloads or videos won't play or whatever, anything like that, support at productlaunchformula.com for our awesome customer support superstars, and they will take care of you. Some of my answers, I might go off on a riff. Like last week I did. I went off on a tangent, or not even a tangent, but I spent a lot of time on it was actually the last question. And I mean, if we get really, really good questions that are really important for me to expound on, and important meaning it will help out a lot of people, then I will. So, I might take 15 minutes on one question, or I might go really quick if it's only going to help the person asking the question. These calls it's going to be recorded and will be posted in the PLF portal. I need you to continue to participate both on the calls and between the calls, and as always, respect the ecosystem, and which means just be cool to people. Just treat people well on these calls. Treat my staff well. Treat your fellow PLF owners well in the portal. And of course, we're not having any problems. People are being completely awesome. Okay, so Larry, you can go ahead and take the screen back from me. But this is just a slide. This is how you actually ask a question. And so that is, basically, I much prefer to talk to people live. It's a lot more fun for me to interact with people versus pick questions out of the chat box. So I'll ask you questions. I'll ask for your feedback in the chat box. But in general, I'm mostly going to be taking questions from people raising their hands. I'm actually doing this from a hotel room, and my wife and I are, after the Thanksgiving holidays, we took a couple of days, and we're having sort of our personal retreat for the two of us, where we sort of decide what we're going to be doing, reconnect with each other, and decide what this next year is going to be looking for us. So, of course, I'm doing a lot of business planning and personal planning, but I also like to take that time with my wife and reconnect with her. So, but the upshot is we are in a hotel room, so with really solid internet, but still it's always a little scary when you do these calls and it's not from your office. Okay. Let me see. So I'm going to, let's see, do we have any hands raised? We got a lot of good questions. Okay. So I'm just going to go right to the questions. First, start off with Adam. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
I got you, yes.
Yeah, I'm in a car as a passenger streaming internet, so I'm hoping that it's not too noisy and you can still hear me.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so, I'm really enjoying the program, and I have a question that is still kind of Module 1 based.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, and so I'm a holistic health practitioner, and I do a lot of teaching, and I travel around to teach programs and stuff like that, but I'm trying to launch more of an at-home training that'll be part virtual and then eventually morph into some live stuff as well. So the launching will be more for trying to build an audience, build my list, and then start qualifying people to be committed to a longer, more professional training program.
Got it.
And so the first part was going to be sort of a free 3 or 4 module scenario just to introduce basic concepts and teach how to do muscle testing and things like that. And I guess I was sort of looking at that as the initial launch, but then and trying to figure out how the sequencing of that went, but then after watching the Launch Your List stuff, realized that should just be a list building scenario and have it as an e-course to build my list, to then lead into a low-priced, high-value training to get more, get the people who are interested in continuing, but continue to then narrow who wants to go further. And so I was just trying to get some clarity on that because the other list building strategies I was considering using were, giving away like some free reports. I have interviews I've done with some fairly well-known people like Bruce Lipton, Amadeus, Judith, and things like that are well-known in the healing community. But at the same time, I'm a little concerned that, those are popular people. I think I'll get people on my list, but they have nothing to do with what I'm ultimately training people to do. They do have, but indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, the e-course is sort of a bigger deal thing to try and build a list from. So I'm just trying to figure out strategies there. Ultimately, I probably could do both.
Right. But, okay, so Adam, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you because we're getting some noise now. So yep. I'll mute you, but then we'll answer it. Okay, so first of all, it sounds like you got a lot of material to work with. The one thing, I don't make this too complicated and too hard. In terms of building the list, all you need is a very simple value offer where you're offering value for their email address. It's not like they're signing up for life. It's not like they're committing to give you a ton of money. All they're doing is they're giving you their email address. So you have to have something that's enticing enough for them to give you their email address. And that it could be, it could be an infographic, really. It could be, a PDF report. If you look at even the squeeze page I used for my launch, for the first page, there was basically a headline that says, it was something along the lines, well, we tested a bunch of them, so I can't remember all of them, but there was one, it was like, are you making these mistakes in your product launch? Or these are the top mistakes that people are making in their launches. And that was it. It was like, put your email address in. And it didn't tell you whether you're going to get a video or an audio or a PDF or an infographic or a webinar. It implied a promise. So you have to come up with basically a headline that is enticing, that people want to put their email address in and to get whatever's on the other side. So it's not, you don't have to come up with an e-course to, it can be a lot simpler than what you're thinking. When you mentioned a free, a three-part, I think you said three-part, a free course that would be free. Well, a free course, yes, it was going to be free. That would have, these different parts. I was thinking, well, that sounds like your pre-launch content. So don't, I wouldn't give people an e-course and then put people on a list and try to keep that list warm and then eventually do the launch. I would put together a squeeze page, an opt-in page, and with some type of a promise that gives them something cool on the other side. And then, I think you're thinking along the lines of, those interviews with the other experts, being solid and maybe building a list, but, really at the end of the day, you want the list to be about you being the expert. So this doesn't mean you can't have interviews, and it might even be like a good, value offer or bribe on your opt-in page. But, then you have to switch from it being about the experts that you're interviewing to being about you and your expertise. So, I hope that helps. I know we sort of, because of the noise, we had to mute you and stuff. And, so I hope I got your question. But basically, don't make this too complicated. First, get up that opt-in page, that squeeze page. And it doesn't have to be a huge offer. It could just be one thing you're going to give them. And you can create like I said, it could be an infographic. It could be a short screen capture video. It could be a short video with you. It could be a PDF. It could be a PDF with your top 10 tips to do this, top 7 tips to avoid that. And sort of that's a quick start. And then you can follow with them, which is value emails that's building your relationship with them, building your expertise that helps them. And now you're building towards your launch. And take that free e-course and maybe turn that into your pre-launch content for your launch. Okay, So we're going to go next to Bill.
You hear me?
I got you, Bill. Yep.
Great, great. So I'm a newbie on this. I had I think a baby step kind of question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a list, but I've identified a website that's pretty much in my niche, and they used to accept guest postings. They don't anymore. Now they require you to pay $800. They write the article for you, and then you can direct to an opt-in page where I'll give them my ethical bribe.
Yep.
So my question is, it's not so much $800, but my question is, if they don't know how to write good, write well, I'm not going to get anybody to click on the link, and I won't be able to determine if this is because my business idea is no good or because of the poorly written article. So I'm kind of in a dilemma here.
Right. You know, it's an interesting arrangement. I haven't heard that type of arrangement before. Do you get to approve the article before they run it?
I don't know. I didn't get that far with them. I imagine I could. Whether I can do much editing, I think they would probably bristle at that a little bit.
Oh, yeah, probably. I'm sure they would. You know, the question is, I mean, at the end of the day, is how many visitors are they going to send, and
Right.
what do those people think of you before they get to your website? I mean, are they? So in other words, is it? You know, it's one thing to have an article with. I mean, I guess they would put it in your name, or would it be about you, or?
Yeah, it'd be in my name, and
So that's just weird. It's like,
yeah, I could, and I said, could I draft the article, and then you guys, I'll still pay the $800, and you guys just claim that you wrote it. And they, nope, can't do that. So, anyway, the reason I'm interested is it's 100,000 subscribers to this site, all in the job hunting area, which is my field, my area.
yeah. So, and what does that number mean? Is it 100,000 people are going to see your article? 100,000 people come to their website in a month. 100,000 come in a day. They have 100,000 people on their list, and they're going to mail their list about that article. You know, that's just a really ambiguous number.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My question would be like, how many, you know, for your last 5 blog posts, how many people clicked through to the destination website on each one of those posts?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's one of the questions. How many visits are they going to send you? And then also, like, I mean, like, if the article is just an amazing article that makes you sound like a genius, and that there's something really cool on your website that they need to go check out and opt in to download, that's one thing. But if it's just a generic article, it's like, oh yeah, Bill, oh, this is whatever about jobs, and oh, by the way, Bill's pretty cool. Here's his website. You know, that's a different thing. They're not going to opt in at the same rate. And,
right. Exactly.
You know, so at the end of the day, it's going to be how many subscribers are you going to get, and you know, yeah, I mean, if you can get, you know, if you could get even 100 subscribers out of something like that, I think it'd probably be worth it. But yeah,
I do notice when they have an article posted, it's an electronic newsletter, that there's not a lot of response comments from their subscribers.
Right.
Sometimes it may take 6 months to get 10 or 12 people, and usually I'm one of them, pretty active on that site. So I'm not really convinced that they're really hitting the sweet spot of my market or very effective at getting people to get engaged.
Yeah, they're just not engaged with their people, and
doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's how to approach it, how to think about it.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to go to Barbara now. Hey, Barbara.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, really, really well. Melbourne again, so it's a lovely, lovely weather down here at the moment. Yes. My question to you is, I'm doing a 3-week free course as my launch offer, and to sell into a program after that. And I'm wondering whether that, in your opinion, is too long to keep people engaged and just too much information. In your experience, would that create a level of overwhelm?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason, did you hear how hard I was trying to sell people and showing up on the third call?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's easy for people. What if they don't show up for the 3 calls? They'll be like, "Yeah, that's awesome material." And when I get through that material, then I'll sign up.
Yeah.
So so there's a real balancing act between giving great stuff and being super consumable and keeping people consumed to consume it, so they want more. And if you'll notice, it's a big thing for your pre-launch. And then even in your course, because if you'll notice, I'm working really hard to keep people engaged. Mm-hmm. And because, frankly, I don't have to. People have already signed up. I already made the sale. But, I want people to go through this and they have an impact. But people get busy. And so I do think when you do a 3-week thing like that, it worries me that you'll lose a lot of people.
Yes. Yes. No, I agree. The 3rd week, particularly, I notice a huge drop-off. So, yeah, I've got to just take the content, but push it out in smaller amounts over, say, a 10-day period. Or is even that too long?
No, I think 10 days it would be good. I might tell you, like if you look the way I do launches, like my JV launches, and this is deeper in the program. We'll talk more about timing, but our JV launches are 10 to 12 days. Our internal launches are usually a little more 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. That's great feedback. Appreciate it.
Yep. You're welcome, Barbara.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Now we're going to go to Caroline. Caroline?
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Wow, shocked. I never thought I'd have my hand raised and answered, which is awesome. Great to talk to you.
It's real. It's live.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, so my predicament is this. I have a very tight niche market. I work with patients that have very chronic, difficult diseases to solve that almost nobody else can solve, and I can. So I've done this for about 10 years in private practice. And what I found is over this time frame, as I've been reading more about my colleagues, 80% of acupuncturists are typically out of business in 5 years. So that I've had a really successful Chinese medical practice. I want to be able to help my colleagues solve this problem where they are learning something fabulous that works amazingly well, and yet they can't run their business and they're out in 5 years. So my question is this, that I currently have my website, which is devoted toward my practice. Do I launch my coaching practice for my colleagues? Because that's how everybody knows me. That's where all of my patients have been for 10 years, and my colleagues, my LinkedIn and Facebook, Twitter, everything, people know me through that medical practice. Or do I separate it where I have a module under that name that then I branch off into a separate website? I'm just not sure how to navigate the move into offering now coaching for the business training for my colleagues.
Got it. Yeah, it's a good question. So, right now your website is about you and your practice, and it's probably, are you building do you have an email opt-in on that site by any chance?
An email opt-in? Yes, I do.
Okay. And those people are opting in more for patient-focused stuff, not for practitioner-focused stuff, I would imagine. Yeah. And so this is what I would, I would not put it on that site just because you could put a mention of it there, but I mean, I would keep that site primarily patient focused. I would put up another site, and it doesn't have to be a full site. It could just be an opt-in page.
Okay.
Literally, if you look, I mean, product launch formula isn't a website. It's 2 pages. It's an opt-in page and a thank you page. And
Okay.
that's it. I've got jeffwalker.com where I publish there, but in terms of product launch formula, it's 2 pages. And so you could have the same thing. You could have basically a squeeze page and a thank you page, and that's all you need. And the squeeze page, and so you'd be building a list, and then at the point where you're ready to roll out this product, and it might be now or it might be 2 years from now, then you've got an email list. So I would, and that squeeze page or the opt-in page can be really simple. Like, here's the, where it's about, this is the pain point, and this is what I'm going to give you. And it's going to be like, most acupuncturists are out of business within 5 years. Here's how to not go out of business in 5. Here's how to build a thriving practice. Here's 5 simple, easy steps to building a thriving practice. Something like that. And it's really simple. And you don't have to tell them what's on the other side. You just offer here's the pain and here's the promise. And then, get them to join. And you could, if you want, you could create a PDF with some tips, or you could just create an autoresponder series with a series of emails. But that way, you're not building a whole new site. It doesn't have to be fancy. And there's no reason you can't link to it from your patient site. And certainly you'd want to, link, tell people on LinkedIn about it, and probably Facebook as well. So you'd have 2 focuses, one for your patients and one for your practitioners. And the practitioners is more just a squeeze page.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see. We're going to go to Kat. Hey, Kat.
Oh, hi.
Hi, you're on.
I'm on. Fabulous. You did, the sound was off for a while there. Yeah, I'm so excited to be on this program. I opened up the thing last night. Wow, that's a lot of material. And wow, I'm glad there's a lot of material, because I tried to launch last year with one of the ones that was just like a Jeff Walker launch, but it's simpler and easier, and so easy that it didn't work at all. So I spent about a year revamping the program and was getting ready to launch again this year, and then started. So I'm excited to do a Jeff Walker launch, actually with Jeff Walker.
I'm excited for you.
But when I started seeing all the steps that were involved, I pulled the plug on this. I postponed it from planning for December to looking more at January, February. And so what I'm wondering is it, when should we realistically, if we're kind of have no old material in the box that we can kind of revamp, starting from scratch, when would it be realistic to think that we could actually start a launch? And so I've got a list, and had an audience ready for this project, but for various reasons, we just didn't get it off the ground last year.
Right.
And is it a matter of actually doing all of the pieces for the most part ahead of time and planning each video and getting them all done before we hit go and start with the first pre-launch stuff?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. First, the first piece is, everyone moves at a different pace, and everyone is a different, they have different demands on them and different amounts of time and different capabilities in terms of creating this kind of stuff. And so, but I think January, later January or February, which are great months to launch, by the way, for most markets. I think would be realistic. The second part, I'm getting a bunch of noise, so I'm going to mute you there. The second part is, do you need to have all this stuff done ahead of time? And this, boy, as a coach and as a teacher, I know you just want me to give you the definitive answer, but really this comes down to who you are and what your capabilities and experiences. Really, the best launches are when it's not all done ahead of time, when you're reacting to what the market tells you. So let me give you an example of that from my, again, I try to be as transparent as possible. And when we were in, like, somewhere around that second video that we released, all of a sudden I realized we had a lot of authors that were really interested in this program. And we don't really have much in the way of stuff specifically for book launches. So it's like, okay, I think, holy cow, I need to add a component on book launches. And yeah, I just had a tremendously successful book launch. I know a lot of people that have had them, so I could definitely teach this and I could interview some people about it. And so I added a bonus section. We haven't released it yet. We're going to release it in a few weeks about book launches. And so then I had to go and I had to shoot a new, I had to add some pieces of the sales video, and we actually added an additional video that we released during Cart Week that was just for authors. And, I did all that right in the middle of the launch. And that's the best launches are when you're reacting in the launch based on the comments and feedback you're getting. So that's the best in some ways, but it's also the most stressful. It's a lot less stressful to have everything done ahead of time. And so depending on, what I would suggest is probably at least have the first 2 videos done. Video number 1, PLC 1 and PLC 2, really. You can have those done going into the launch, knowing that you're going to get the 3rd video and the sales video done, while you're in pre-launch. That's probably the optimal mix between the 2 of them. But sometimes people go in, I've certainly gone into launches, just having the first video done and making everything up on the fly. It can be stressful doing that. It's like I had every minute scheduled. It's like from 8 to 10 a.m. we're going to shoot the video, then I'm going to go do this, write the emails on this time and like I said, it can be stressful. And if you don't, you haven't been through it and don't know you've got those capabilities to knock that stuff out like that, it's better. For some people, it can be better to have it all done ahead of time. Probably the optimal is to get the first 2 videos done and go from there. So good question, and hope that helped. Okay, Kat, we'll go for a follow-up question. I saw your note there. Yeah, sure. So I muted you, Kat.
Oh, great. Yeah, so usually I'm pretty good at going on the fly, but especially after kind of getting burned last year, I really want to try to follow all the steps, and I was thinking about doing something a little simpler with another group that I work with. I do these masterminds for online entrepreneurs, whether to kind of do a trial run with that group before I do the main business and hit my main list with the product that I have for them, and just, before I roll it out to all the Water Citizen folks that I usually work with, that just seems like a safe way to go.
Yeah, sort of have a practice launch type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendly audience.
Yeah, I love I learned this from a friend of mine, Jeff Johnson. He said, always practice on your B clients. If you need to make a sales presentation, don't line it up with your absolute dream client for the first time. It's like, find someone that just doesn't, lower stakes to start with. And, if you have that possibility, then yeah, I would do that. I love, practicing in a lower stakes environment before we go for it.
Yeah, just a friendly audience.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Kat. And I had a question typed in. I try not, here we go. A question from Mario. A little late joining here. Sorry if this has been asked, but it seems PLF is very well suited to educational and digital products, and that you often teach from this perspective. Question, is PLF just as effective for brand new physical product launch, particularly, this is a clothing item? Yes, it is. It works for physical products just as well. I'll just tell you right off that, 90% plus of our PLF owners tend to be doing digital or at least information products of some sort. Not necessarily digital, but information, teaching, educational, like what I like to call wisdom products. And so that's the way I teach from. And frankly, that's what I love. I just love learning. I love teaching. I love information. I just love it. But it's been used for forever, for the last decade since I first released it. One of my first case studies was for marching band accessories, like gloves and hats and things like that. So it absolutely works for physical products, especially in this case, a new physical product. It will work. Obviously, your ability to change the offer on the fly is not going to be there at the same level as with information products. Your cost structure is going to be different. The delivery is going to be different. But the mental triggers all work the same way. The building anticipation all works the same way. The using a sequence being more powerful than one single sales message can work the same way. So it will absolutely work for physical products. And it works really, really well. Even physical products that have already been on the market that you're relaunching, you can bundle them to create new offers. But yeah, it will work. But I will admit that that I do tend to teach it from educational information, wisdom tech products, just because that's who most of us here are. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to go back to the questions. We're going to go to Catherine. Hey, Catherine. Hello. Catherine Steele. I can't hear you, so you might be muted. So I'll give you a counting 1, going once, going twice, going 3 times for Catherine. Are you there? Okay, we're going to move on to Dana. Hi, Dana.
Hi, am I on? Actually on? Yay.
You are on.
I'm in the middle of my first launch, and I'm so excited. This is my second time through PLF, and I'm freaking out a little bit. It's really fun. My big question is that I've shot all the pre-launch content because I knew that my editing was going to be really intense. I like everything to be incredibly visual and look really cool. Mm-hmm. And now as I'm editing it, I realize even though I tell the launch story, it's not as full as my homework. I wish I hit every single point, and we've been adding in slides and things to fill in points. And I just wonder if I'm doing too much, if I'm worried too much that I'm not fulfilling the entire PLF homework of amazingness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So Dana, first of all, I just want to say I feel your pain. Because I think every time I see one of my launch videos, I'm like, oh man, I forgot this, I forgot that, I should have said this, oh, I can't believe I didn't say this, I didn't really drill this in. Yeah. So it happens to all of us every single time.
Okay, good.
It just does. So I mean, I haven't seen your videos, so I can't say, but I mean, it's like, the question to ask is as you watch it, it's like, okay, am I telling the story? Am I telling the story of their transformation? And usually, like even, I'll tell you what, I mentioned my plant group earlier, and I love the people in my plant group, and we've been through war together. It's amazing what we've done together, the work we've done together. And not everything is all beauty and grace. And sometimes launches don't work as well as we think they're going to. And it's always we go back and say, oh, did we really tell that story of their transformation, of how their life is going to be really changed because of going through this and then eventually buying my product. So that's the big question to ask, when you're looking at this, at your videos and the story you tell within those videos. And you don't have to hit every single thing. In fact, if you hit every single thing in every video, they each be like, feature-length movies.
Right.
So, it sounds to me like, this is your second time through. Did the first launch go pretty well?
I've never done one. This is my first launch, my second time through PLF.
Oh,
so.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. I got mixed up. I thought it was your second launch. Yeah, that's the filter I would look at it. First of all, don't expect you're not going to cover everything. No one does. And we all leave stuff out. And the question is is the story in here of their transformation? And it could be your transformation as well, tied to, their future transformation. But is that story really there? That's the question to ask.
Got it. So I'm not going to stress myself out. And I don't know if this is too advanced, but in terms of asking for the comments and social proof on each video, I know that you link them to Facebook, all the different programs link them to Facebook. Does that make your videos public on Facebook to people?
Well, it's fine to ask the advanced question because your first question is so good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, what it does is basically, well, tell you what, Facebook has changed in this. And it used to be it would automatically post to their wall. Now, sometimes it posts to their wall. And when it does, then someone could click on that and then go see the video if it posts the comment to their wall, but it won't post the video to their wall.
Got it. But it would have people watching your PLF content that didn't sign up for your launch list.
Well, that really depends on your technology.
Got it.
Some of the technology will make them opt in first, like if you're using Kajabi or something like that. And some won't. Some will just be able to go right to your video. But sometimes you can set it so the link that goes on their Facebook page is a link to your squeeze page.
Oh, awesome. This is so exciting. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to be a success story. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dana. Okay, so let's see. Yep, I hope that wasn't too advanced for people, but I think Dana asked some great questions. We're going to go to Daniel now. Hey, Daniel. Daniel, are you there? Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, we're going to move on from Daniel to David. Hey, David. David. Hello, David. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? You got me there? Okay, you can hear me. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. So we're going beyond. We're leaving David behind, and we're moving on to Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm great. I'm totally a newbie. I just want to get my service out there, and I have I have created some material and some ideas of where I want to go, but I don't have anything very concrete at this point. Mm-hmm. I have a few things, but then my first question is, so in order to create credibility and to get people to know me, I guess a seed launch would be the things to do, or not?
If you're just starting out, especially if you don't have a product or a list, it's the place to start. Yep.
Okay, and because the product is in my head, it's not on video, or it's not on paper, or a lot of it is in my head anyway.
Right. So
go ahead.
Go on. Well, I was just going to say, seed launch is perfect for that, because what it basically allows your new clients, students, to help pull that out of your head and get it into audio or video.
Okay. And also, I used to be on the board of director of a nonprofit organization, and that organization went down 6 months ago. And I have access to that list,
okay,
which has 3,600 names on it, which is, and we used to have about 30% opening rate.
Wow.
On that list, but since it's been dormant, so I was wondering, like, and we used to send a newsletter once a month. So would you recommend? Because I wanted to reopen that list now that I'm doing your program and it's perfect timing. So, but just to do that, use that list for a seed launch and then send them like a seed launch and then send them to either a PDF or a video with transcript or something like that, and then send them to re-sign and make them more firm. Would that be the idea?
Yeah, I mean, there's a video in Module 1 called Warming Cold List. And I would
that's where I did that,
Yeah, definitely go through that and just do that process, and that'll warm them back up. And then you're just going to want to run the seed launch for them and make an offer into a seed.
But what's the difference between the warm-up and the seed launch?
Well, the warm-up is just to get them re-engaged and to know who you are and interested in opening your emails again. The seed launch is actually to make an offer for your seed product, which will be a series of either teleseminars or webinars where you're going to teach over a series of 5 calls.
Oh, okay. So initially give them like a PDF or video and stuff like that.
Yep.
Or the 10 biggest mistake, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
So to get them to click through and give me their email. And then when I do the seed launch, I will seed launch only to the people that have clicked through?
Correct. But don't count,
and from there,
don't count on just one email getting them to click through. So it'll take, you definitely want to send probably a total, I'd say 3 emails to that old list to get them to click over.
Prior to, and would you send them like 3 different gifts within that email?
No. Same gift.
Always the same?
Gift, 3 different emails, probably written from slightly different subject lines, coming from slightly different angles on why they should come on over and get the gift and opt in.
Okay. So the same product but 3 different formats.
Correct.
So it's attracted it will attract different people. And I like the idea, of course.
This is an important point. Like, when you said there's, they had 30% open rate of the 1,200 or 3,600 people. So you think, that's 1,200 people are opening up. Well, that's 1,200 people are opening up a given message, it's not the same 1,200 people. So in any time you're running any type of promotion, if you send one email, let's say you're selling something, you send one email and you might make, let's say you make $1,000 in sales. And a lot of people would do that and they're like, okay, cool, I got $1,000 in sales. But what the professional will say, well, that means there's another $1,000 to $2,000 left if I just send up a few follow-ups. And so you send up follow-up emails that could be a different subject line. It could be an entirely different copy or slightly different copy, coming in from a different angle, talk about a different pain point or a different opportunity, or slightly. It just changed the copy some, but it goes to the same thing. And this is I want everyone to hear this. Everyone on the call, this is critically important. The follow-up is where it's all at. That first email will get between 1/3 and half the response. And that means that means anywhere from a half to 2/3 of the response is still in the list. And you need to continue to follow up to get that.
Mm-hmm. And once they follow up and sign in to get that product, whatever that is, then PDF, whatever, then you take them off that initial list so they don't get the second or third email, right?
Exactly.
If they opt in into the new list to get that product.
Exactly. Yep.
So they don't know you're asking again and again and again because they're not on that list anymore.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll keep on working. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Denise. And one more thing to remember is, like, when you go to remove those people, from your old list, just understand that some of them, well, they'll have opted into your new list with a different email address. So it's never going to be perfect that you're going to get every, we call it, you're cleaning the list or you're scraping the old list or you're cleaning it. It's never going to be a perfect process. So there'll be some people that'll be like, I already signed up over in this. Why keep on sending me these emails? It's just going to happen. That's just life, because people have more than one email address and they change email addresses all the time. Okay, did anyone catch that and how important that tip was, what I just said? Did you guys listening? Just want to underline that one. Yeah, there we go. Loud and clear. Love it. Because that is critical. The idea of, if you send any type of an email trying to get any kind of a response, that first email is only going to get between 1/3 and half of the response that's in your list. And that's, people are like, why do you keep on sending so many emails? The reason you send so many emails is because it gets results. And so if you're trying to sell something and you send an email and you make $1,000 in sales, you can be happy with the $1,000 in sales. But if you send another email, you know what? You're going to get another $600 in sales. And then the third email, you're going to get another $500 or $600 in sales. So if you stopped after that first email, you left at least half the money or half the response on the table. So that's why you have to follow up. That's why on your third, I'm sorry, the day we'll get into this later in the course, when you close your cart on your launch, in other words, when the launch offer goes away, it doesn't matter whether your product's coming off the market or not. You don't have to take your product off the market. But at the end of the launch, something has to happen to signify it's the end of the launch. Either some bonuses go away or the price goes up or the product comes off the market. And on that last day of your launch, a lot of people send one email, and they're making a horrible mistake if they do that. You have to send 3 emails. Now, there's some people are like, oh my gosh, you can't send 3 emails in a single day. And, I feel your pain. I used to think, well, 3 emails in a day. Well, if you don't send 3 emails in a day, then you are not serving yourself and you're not serving your clients the way you need to, because that third email makes all the difference. So on the day and we'll cover this in more depth as we get into the course, but on the day you close cart, you got to send 3 emails, one early in the morning, one mid-afternoon, and one, 3 or 4 hours before your offer is going to close. And you close your offer at midnight. So I'm just giving you a little peek ahead. Okay. Let's go back to the questions. And we're going to go to Douglas. Hey, Douglas, you there? Doug, if you are there, and you're talking, we can't hear you, you've got something's muted over there. Okay, we're going to move on beyond Doug, and we're going to go to Gordon. Hey, Gordon.
Hi there.
Hey. Gotcha. Yep, okay. Gotcha.
My question was, in the material, I heard you mention that when you did PLF Launch 1.0, you mentioned that you used JV partners, and you had been doing investment and trading newsletter type products before. How did you connect or resonate with potentially totally different audience through the PLC content that you were sending out to those new communities?
Okay, that's a great question, and oh boy, this is one of those questions that I worry about a little bit, because this is one where I'll share my path and how it happened for me, but that path it was highly unusual, and it's not going to fit for most people. So in one sense, the answer is it's almost like a trivia question, but in another sense, the reason I'm going to answer it is because I think if you just look at this and say, well, how can that kind of thing apply to me, then I think it could be very instructive. So Gordon, I'm getting some noise, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you on this. So this is the deal. As Gordon mentioned, I started off in 1996 publishing about the stock market. Published about the stock market for whatever 8 or 9 years, something like that. And then in 2005, switched over to selling product launch formula. I released product launch formula on October 21st, 2005. And so how did I make that transition, especially since the first time I rolled out product launch formula was with a JV launch? Well, actually, the first time I rolled it out was really more of a seed launch, and that was in the spring of that year. And that's where I actually made an offer from Stage. I was speaking at an event put on by Yannick Silver, and it was the very first underground online seminar, and I sold from the Stage, and I only was able to get 6 people to sign up, which was not a very good result since there's like 200 plus people in the room. And so, bare minimum, you should get 10% of the people to sign up, which would have been 20, and I got 6. So, that's not very impressive. But I did get 6 to sign up, and part of it is because I didn't know how to sell stuff. I'm not a salesperson from Stage for sure, or in person or anything like that. So, anyways, I offered did it as a seed launch, in that I delivered the content for it via a bunch of teleseminars, and then I remade the product, and then in October I launched the first PLF. Well, we didn't call it 1.0 back then. It was just product launch formula, but now I guess we call it PLF1. And so, and I got a ton of partners to promote, and we did about $600,000 in a single week. So that was my entry into the market, really. And so, how did I gain traction there? How did I get partners to promote? How did I build up that social proof? How did I get people to connect to the PLC? Well, this is what I did. Was in 2003, I went to my first internet marketing seminar, and I got to know some of the people some of the leaders in the market, frankly. People that, some of them are long forgotten, but some of them are prominent to this day, like Yannick Silver, like Frank Kern, John Reese, Jeff Johnson, folks like that. And I just got to know them at the back of the room. None of us were speaking, at the back of the room and in the bar, buying beers for them. Got to know them. And back then, there was no such thing as, no one did product launches. No one knew what product launches were. And so I've been doing them for like 8 years. I've been doing these PLF style launches. I didn't have the name PLF. We didn't call them anything like that. We just call them launches. And so I started to share with those guys what I was doing and how I was doing it. And then I ended up helping them out. I helped John Reese with his first launch, which did, $450,000 in just a few minutes. And then he went on to do $1 million launch. I had a little bit of help with that, where he took my methodologies and he did the first $1 million launch. Then Frank Kern, a few months later, did a launch that did somewhere around $1 million. And I helped him out. I even gave him some copy for that launch. And then I helped Yannick Silver out with a launch. And none of these did I get paid. I was just out there helping people because they become friends. They're people I'd gotten to know at the seminar and hung out with, and then had hung out with them at a few other seminars. And that's why Yannick ended up inviting me to come and speak at his event. And so I built up these relationships from when I first started to meet those folks in 2003 up until 2005. And this isn't to say that it's going to take you 2 years to build your JV relationships, but that's what I did. And I also started building a list in this market, in the teaching online marketing. I started that in 2003. I didn't know I was going to roll anything out, but I thought in 2003, there's a chance that I eventually might sell something in this market. So if I think I'm eventually going to start selling something, what's the first thing I did was I created a squeeze page. Just like that question, I think it was Kat that I answered. Maybe it was Caroline that I answered about, I'm thinking about doing this other thing. Should I put up another website? Well, I'm like, yeah, but I'm just going to put up a squeeze page. So I put up a squeeze page, and I put up, in fact, you can go see that squeeze page right now. It's never changed since 2003. and it's at 6in7.com, SIXINSEVEN.com. And it looks like it was built in 2003. It's horribly ugly. It's got this long-form copy, but if you look at that copy, you can start to see the seeds of, well, you can see how I wrote copy, however, 11 years ago. But I just started building my presence. I started building my list there because I could look around and see the way people interacted or the way people worked together in this market was they promoted for each other. So if the coin of the realm is promotion, is being able to mail and sell someone else's product, then, well, I might get in this market at some point. I'm going to start building a list. So that's what I did. In March of 2003, you can go look and see when I registered that domain. It was March of 2003. And I didn't sell anything in this market until October 2005. So that is, what is that? That's like 24, 30 months, 33 months later or something like that. But that's the way I approach things. It's like I'm thinking about this market. I'm just going to start building a list, And so that's what I did. So I started building a list. I was able to support a few people with this small little list I had. By support, I mean promote for their products. And then I was able to help build friends by helping people out, by helping out Yannick and Frank and John and a few others. And so that's how, in October of 2005, when I went to do my first launch, I was able to get broad affiliate JV support because I put in that time building up those relationships. Now, sometimes JV relationships, they can happen a lot faster. They can. But the point I'm making for you is you have to look at your assets and say, what are my assets? What do I have? And then how can I start building those assets? And this goes back to, Module 1. And I took you through that exercise of identifying your assets. So what was my assets? I'm looking at getting it potentially in a new market. Oh, by the way, there's one other piece I didn't mention. That's my stock market business in early 2003, right around in spring of 2003, right about the time I was speaking at Yannick's, I had a little falling out with my partner. I had a long-term partner, and that partnership broke up. In fact, my partner actually stole the business from me. So all of a sudden, in early 2003, early 2005, I didn't have a business anymore, and it was time to start a new business. And that's when I rolled out Product Launch Formula. But it's, I had spent that time ahead of time building up this little tiny list, but then building strong relationships with partners, and that's why it all, came home to roost. It all came to fruition. It all paid off in 2005. So it was, it was definitely, it was an interesting process, an interesting time in my life. But what I want you to take away from this is, to build up those joint venture relationships, it's a one-off kind of deal. You build them one at a time, and it's better if you build them ahead of time. And the way you build them is by building value for other people. If building value in their lives in some fashion. And the primary way that I built the value for them was by actually helping them, showing them how to do launches. So that's why, my path is, in this case, is not necessarily going to be your path, but that's the thing. It's like, how can I build value for other partners? And that's the way you get those nice, strong partners. So I did go a little bit down memory lane there, but was that helpful for you guys? Cool. Okay, looks like it was good. Okay, so enough about me. Let's talk about Jason. Hey, Jason. How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Great. Hey, I just want to thank you for this program. I know I'm with a lot of people that every time I think I got my $2,000 worth, there's more. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I've got a question for you. I had a successful acupuncturist business for about 15 years, and then I decided to close it down after some setbacks. But I have a huge list that I had at Infusionsoft, and then I transferred it over to one shopping cart, and probably a third to more than a third didn't get wouldn't be delivered.
Yep.
So my question is, when I'm rewarming the list, I mean, I've got the product that I invented and everything like that, and I do pretty well with that per month. But with your program, I want to reach a market that I'm not entirely sure is online, which is ladies 70 years old and above. That's been my target market for my pain relief product that I invented. And so, do you have any ideas as far as older people being online and how to sort of approach that?
Yeah. Well, certainly not all of them will be, but a lot of. I mean, my mother-in-law is. My mom not so much, but my dad certainly is. And they're in and beyond your target market. And I think that that market increasingly is getting more online because, frankly, especially early 70s, the internet was all heating up. They were in their 60s, in the early 60s. I think it is what it is, frankly. That some of them are there now. More of them will be every single year. Every year we've got new people hitting that age, and they've been online. So it will be an ever-increasing percentage, an ever-increasing number.
Yeah, and the other part of that is my secondary avatar is other acupuncturists, because this product I invented out of love for my mother, and now I sell it in 21 countries, but most acupuncturists in the United States don't know about it. So that's my second avatar, because we were doing about 10 grand just in our clinic. So that. I love your program because I think that's a real good way to get to those people. But what fascinates me is your website was only 2 pages, and I mean, I've probably spent $5 grand on people designing a website for me. So it seems obvious to me that less might be more.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, one thing I did want to mention, so every time I answer a question, some people are typing in they didn't quite understand, or they didn't hear it, or they weren't paying attention, or they hit return and they got something. I'm not going to be repeating answers because that would just be crazy. I'm going to give the answer, and you got to be paying attention. But if you missed it, then we do post these calls in the PLF portal, and definitely go listen to the recordings. Okay, let me see. We're going to go to Jennifer.
Yeah,
Jennifer.
me.
Yes, you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Nice. Okay. Well, I typed in. Can you see the question I typed in earlier or not?
No.
Okay.
You wouldn't believe how fast. I mean, we've got hundreds of people typing in this stuff,
Okay.
so they go by. It scrolls by pretty quick. And frankly, when I'm talking and when I'm listening to a question, I'm tempted to look over, but I can't, because then they'll get to the end of the question. I won't know what they just asked. I'll be like, oh, what? So
Yeah. No
I
worries.
have to stay focused on the conversation.
Totally good. I asked because I was deciding if I was going to change my question or not. But
Okay.
so the question that I typed in was that I have I'm a chiropractor for 15 years, and I have an email list that part of it's from my own personal email of chiropractic contacts, and then part of it was created by my business partner via my Facebook contacts. So those people have not opted in. I don't know if you have any thoughts or tips on converting them to clients who want to opt in. We were thinking about just sending a very casual email to kind of start that relationship without being like spamish or disrespectful of my friends and my and their contact information.
Right. So now there's 2 universes here. There's the people on Facebook, and then there's the people where you have their individual emails, but they haven't actually opted in. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So, and Facebook is just a matter of, posting to Facebook and inviting them to go join your list for some incredibly cool reason. And you would probably be well served. If they're following, especially if they're following your page, then you can advertise to them. Because if you just post to Facebook, you're only going to reach 8 to 12 or 14% of them. because that's the way Facebook works now. But that's you could advertise to them for not much money at all, just to your people. So I would do that. And then for the people that you just have their email addresses, send them individual emails.
Okay.
So that's not spammy. Like if you have a prior existing relationship and you send them an individual email from your address or from your office's address, saying, hey, I've got this really cool thing, go over here and get it. That's you're well within the law and well within conventional business practices. Just make sure they're individual emails. And it's a pain in the neck, if you have a whole bunch of them, but you could just have a team member do this, and those people are gold. So in other words, you already have an existing relationship with them, so if they do opt into your list, they're going to be worth 10 to 100 times what just someone coming in off the web is going to be worth. So It's always worth sending those.
The biggest challenge, the biggest list, or it's not a list technically because they're just Facebook people, but on my regular, my homepage, I guess I don't have a fan page that I've really promoted or a page that they like, but we have probably almost 1,800 chiropractors there that I know that if I post there, they won't all see it. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to maximize getting those people, I suppose just offering value, but to get them to actually opt into something, even though they're not on my page.
Right. It's an interesting question. And it's one, caveat, I haven't done this. I don't have experience with this, so I like to teach from experience. But you could send them individual messages.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, it'd be a pain in the neck, but, in a day or two, I wouldn't do it myself. I'd have someone on my team do it. But, if you send them individual messages, then you get then the odds of them seeing it's going to be a lot higher than if you just post it to your wall.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And going back to, this is what's so awesome about this call and about these calls, but going back to Jason, who had the question about reaching the 70-year-olds in pain, we did have several people here say, that they're over 60 and they're online, or 70 and they're online. So they absolutely do exist. There's lots of people that are that age that are online. But several other people suggested, possibly trying to target their children. If their children are, in their 40s, let's just say their children are between 30 and 50 somewhere, you could try targeting them. And then there's another suggestion for possibly writing an article for the AARP. So there would be ways that you could reach them, additional ways, which is great because I didn't come up with that, but the community did. Okay, let's go to, let's see. Go to Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Jeff.
You are.
I want to go ahead and ask you a question. I'm a football coach, so I work with football coaches. My question is basically, I have an established list, pretty big list already, and I'm looking at, for more examples, I guess, of the email that you would send out to get people to opt in to a specific launch. So I don't want to launch to the entire list. I want to launch to a segment of the list. But how do I get them to opt into that launch?
Yeah, well, this is, really what that email is about it's just about getting them to click on the link to go over. And, since you're doing an internal launch, I would probably use what we call a reverse. And this is sort of an advanced question, but I'm going to let it go because we're getting late in the call here. So the thing is you're going to send an email. It's like, what's the purpose of this email? And the purpose of the email is to get them over to the page to opt in. And in this case, it's an internal launch. I might send them to the first video and not have them opt in. But in the first video it's what we call a reverse squeeze page, where they actually get to see the video first before you ask for the opt-in. So it would be, okay, so you're just going to reach some football coaches, maybe. I don't know what the segment would be that you're after, but let's just say you just want defensive line coaches. And so the email be something along the lines of, hey, I get a lot of questions from people that want to learn how to be a better defensive line coach, and I know not I know not everyone wants to hear about this, but if you're really interested in coaching defensive lines, I've got a new video for you. Click here. And then it takes them over the video. They see this first video, which is basically your first PLC, and it's all about defensive line coaches or coaching defensive lines. And then, at the end of the video, it's like, hey, if you like this video, if you want to know the next step, enter your name and email address below.
Well, let me ask you one more question about that. If I'm using Infusionsoft, where I can tag them if they just click on it. So would it be good just to immediately tag them if they just click on that video that's showing interest, and then those people all go into the launch?
I would. Well,
there needs to be an actual announcement of, if you want to see more emails, kind of thing.
Yep. I'll tell you what, Joe. It's an interesting question because, excuse me, I would love to see a test of this. Excuse me, I had to grab a drink of water. I'll give you the two sides of this, and this is super advanced here. But so what Joe is asking, I just suggested he send people over and have them opt into this new launch list. But in the system he's using, Infusionsoft, which is a very advanced system, and I talk about it in the tools section of Module 2, you can actually basically tag people. So in other words, you almost be creating a second list just based on the fact that they clicked the link in the email. So that's the context of this answer. So in one sense, Joe, it's beautiful if you can get them. I mean, I would absolutely tag them because now they've raised their hand, and now you can follow up with them separately. Now the question in my mind, and I do not know the answer to this, is they just, by having them re-opt in on that page after they see a video, does that get them more committed to the program?
Right.
And I don't know the answer to that, but I would love to see it tested.
I did something very similar to this, kind of like what somebody said earlier. I actually put my launch together just based off of the video series that from one of your previous launches, and it didn't go as well. It went okay, but I kind of did it the way that you're saying. But I think I'd be interested to see if they opt in, because I did not have them actually opt in. I just tagged them when they clicked on it to go into that.
And Joe, one of the things to think about is, so you can think if you go through this process and you do have them or you do have them opt in, now really you've got three lists. You've got the list that have opted in, the list that has clicked but not opted in, and then you got your main list. And so, you can follow up with them differently.
So do you think I would want to go back definitely and the people who clicked but didn't opt in, go back and email them a couple more times to try to get them to opt in?
Yep. Or certainly to your second video, or certainly once you open cart.
Right, okay.
Because they have at least shown some interest.
Okay, excellent.
But if you just decide, if you're as curious as me and you end up, could you imagine, it would be complicated to do a full-out split test. It would be really complicated. But
there's a lot going on in Infusionsoft.
Yeah. I would love to see that test, though. That would be a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Okay, we are at time here. It's 90 minutes, a little over 90 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take one more question here. Does that sound good? Okay, Julie, you are on. Julie, you with me? Okay, before I go to the next person, I'm going to do a bit of a rant here. I had a couple people after the last question, protested it was too advanced, that they're lost, and I'm a nice guy, I'm a patient, but you know what? At some point, everyone's going to be lost at some point, and we're not going to pander to the absolute lowest common denominator. I'm happy to answer, basic questions. That's what this call is all about and what it has been. But if we occasionally delve into an advanced topic, then that's fine. And so yeah, that's just the way it is. So we are going to go to Kristen. Hey, Kristen. Kristen, I thought I heard you there.
Oh, I'm here.
Yep. Hey,
I didn't have my hand up, though.
Oh, you didn't?
No. I love everything that's happening here, though, Jeff. Thank you so much for everything.
Oh, you're welcome. That's a great recovery. Okay, I'll go look for someone else. I thought we had your hand up there. Okay, we are going to go to...
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's a bit late here in Europe. It's almost midnight, so I'm a bit sleepy, but I'm still on.
Thank you.
Okay, very cool call, I have to say. I tried to put together my first seed launch, and I have a question about, the amount, the number of messages, when building my list for my seed launch. I just wonder, because you mentioned in the list building course that it's about 6 messages, something like that, and then you can, when you build this relationship, you can then maybe send and yes, and this is the second question, how many PLCs usually do for seed launch, and I know that you can do like one PLC, I guess. So yeah, so those are, 2 questions. One, how long should I, build this relationship for the seed launch? And the second one is that, how many PLCs to do with the seed launch, to, pretty much to achieve, good results.
Gotcha. So we're in the module 3. We'll be going deep into the seed launch. So I don't want to spend too much time breaking down what since it's coming up in just a few days.
Yeah, cool.
And you'll get to see it all there. But the thing about the seed launch is, in general, the last couple seed launches I've done is basically one video, one pre-launch video, and then right into then an offer video. And they're short and they're simple. I think the last one I did, the pre-launch video was probably about a 15-minute video that was very unscripted. And then the sales video is actually like 7 or 8 minutes long. So in general, they're shorter. You are going to have a couple emails going to that pre-launch video, at least two emails, probably 3 emails going to that pre-launch video. And then once you open up the cart, you're going to have probably 5 or 6 emails once you open the cart.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I forgot about this because, of course, you want to mail your list during the actual launch, yeah? So seed launch has this sequence as well.
Right, yep.
Okay.
There's going to be an email that you're now, we're live, go buy it. There's going to be a follow-up email, and then we know there's going to be 3 emails on the last day, and maybe there's an email in between too. So it's probably going to be about 6 emails once you open up the cart.
Cool. So my understanding is that you rely more on, you try to test the idea for your product. You don't have to really, try too hard, because you want to just pretty much naturally, attract your biggest fans, right?
Right. Yep. That's exactly right. Exactly.
So, okay. So you don't really need to. Well, it's I guess it's not productive to do, you know, very much work with a seed launch.
Right. I mean, you still want to do a good job making the offer.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, we tend to overcomplicate some things, you know.
Yep. Exactly.
So.
Exactly. This is one you want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
It's all about keeping it simple.
Because you know, my problem is that you know, I don't have this. When I look at the value I deliver, I think I have to deliver a lot more value that, you know, and my clients, they see my, you know, something really simple for me as a huge value, and I, you know, not always see that. So I can just give something simple and it will be, you know, really huge value, huge help. So, you know, that's okay. Cool. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Okay, you're welcome.
It was very helpful. Yeah, cool.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take one more here. Let's go. Where? I'm trying to pick out one I haven't done yet. Let's go with Julie. Hey, Julie. Julie, you're alive. We can't hear you, though. You know, sometimes people mute themselves, and it's easy to forget that you muted yourself, or you didn't even know you muted yourself. Julie, going once, going twice, going 3 times. How about Kathy?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Took me by surprise there. So I had a couple questions already answered just through questions back. Mark answered a couple of things, which was really helpful. So I guess my last one that hasn't been answered yet. Okay, well, I'll ask this one. I probably could figure it out on my own, but I'm kind of sitting with a bunch of different products that I'm thinking about launching over the year, and I'm wondering, I know you talked earlier about 7 to 10 days before, like you only let it run 7 to 10 days, but how soon do you start it after? So like if I'm doing a webinar, I run it for 7 to 10 days, and then do I start it immediately after? What if I'm running a retreat, but I need to know, you know, how much housing, how many people I'm going to need housing and food for? So I didn't know if you had anything to share about that. I had one more example that was, so events where they're sleeping over versus workshops, which I can throw together, you know, for that coming month, or webinar kind of stuff. I don't know if you could talk about that, because I know you do the big workshop where everybody goes.
Right. So like usually the workshops, the way I think about it, I mean, yeah, they can be a pain in the neck to plan when you're first starting out. And so what you want to think about is your offer. Like there's usually an early bird kind of an offer, so that, you know, people get it, you know, and that deadline might be 6 weeks or 8 weeks ahead of time. And then, you know, then there'll be another deadline where there'll be some other bonuses that go away. So it's almost like a series of launches, where you know, if the event's going to be in June, then maybe you got your first deadline at the end of March and another deadline in April. And, you know, that first deadline, they get $500 off, or they get $50, whatever it is. You get some amount off. And then the second deadline, you know, you get free VIP or something like that. And then create a series of deadlines like that, that lead right into your event. That's what we generally do.
Okay, that was kind of helpful. I think I'll need more help as I go forward, but that was helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's see. I've gone well over the time, so we're going to just start to wrap it up here. Again, remember that challenge. My challenge to you was for you to stay engaged through this week, get through Module 2, or at least a big chunk of it, catch up with us. I know we just released Module 2 yesterday, so if you're into it, you're an overachiever. But yeah, get through Module 1, catch up to us in Module 2, put in a big week this week. I know you've got a busy life. If you wouldn't be on this call with me and with us if you didn't have a busy life. That's just the reality. We all do. We're all way too busy. Like I said earlier, I'm away on a retreat with my wife. She gifted me with an hour and 45 minutes to talk to you. And so, but we've all got busy lives. But just fit it in around the edges, fit it around the corners, fit it in 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And then I challenge you to come back, show up next week. And I'd love to be with you. We're going to get through all these questions. We will get through all of them. I know there's still lots of hands raised. We didn't get to everyone today, but we'll get through all of them. And we'll be adding more calls soon. So thanks a lot. Great call. Really appreciate it. Loved your feedback. And I will be actually in here watching your comments for the next few minutes as they come in. And I'll be going. I couldn't read that many of your comments during the call because, like I said earlier, I have to stay engaged in the audio. But I do go through these logs and read everything. So I definitely appreciate you showing up. Appreciate your interaction. And let's go get them this week.